Greetings, 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 greetings. This is your King, King Clifford Jefferson, ascended of Godfrey, the fifth Caliban Jew, son of Faulkner of Jerusalem, on the reincarnation of King Edgar the Peaceful, which we know here at the Third Tibet English Church of England as the King of Peace. Welcome, Brother Spencer from the House of Spencer. I'm the partner of Brother DeVere from the House of DeVere. Glad to have you this morning, or shall I say this afternoon. It is May 16th, 2024, which we know in the birth year is 2974. I greet you in the name of King Edgar the Peaceful. I greet you in the name of all of the saints, all those who have gone before us. I greet you in the name of the Anglo-Saxon burghers. I greet you in the name of our mothers, our fathers. I greet you in the name of all those who are destined to make their way to this movement. I greet you in the name of the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I want everyone to know that I really love you all, for all those who are able to make their way over to the Third Tibet Church of England. Your answers have definitely been guiding you. Today's lesson is going to be a beautiful lesson in regards to the kingdom of Jerusalem. The kingdom of Jerusalem, which we call the Third Temple English Church, which majority of them refer to as the building of the Third Temple, okay? The building of the Third Temple was built by King Clifford Jefferson, descendant of Godfrey, the fifth Caliban Jew, son of Faulkner, ruler of Jerusalem, all right? And this building of the Third Temple Church is what was told or prophesied about in regard to those temples that existed prior to this Third Temple English Church of England being reconstructed. All right, and those temples that are mentioning is the Second Temple and the First Temple. Second Temple and the First Temple. So today will be a lesson to clear that up. As you can see within the spear, it's the Third English Church. All right, which is in the English sphere. All right, this is our globe. All right, outside of this, within this, outside of that, nothing else exists for us. Right, nothing else exists for us outside of the Third Temple English Church of England. This is all we know. This is all we are. Okay, we must understand that. All right, I want to give honor to my Queen Sister Godwinson from the House of Godwinson. I'm going to give honor to Archbishop Belmont from the House of Belmont. I'm going to give honor to Bishop Searchy from the House of Searchy. They're doing a great job. I'm going to give honor to all my past mentors, namely Grand Sheik Lord Nature El Bay. I reached out to him yesterday, a good brother, and I learned a lot from him. And I hope that he make his way here, as well as his family, as well as by way of the open invitation, as well as the invitation was given to them, I'm giving it to you. Okay? So without further ado, this lesson is about the kingdom of Jerusalem, or the building of the Third Temple, which is the Third Temple English Church of England. Yes, this temple has been built. It has been reconstructed. Okay, it has resurrected. All right, and today I will bring the right. So I greet you in love, and let's get started with this marvelous lecture. As always, I have a narrative that I bring forth for you to view, and then we're going to build off that. Okay. So once again, greetings, Brother DeVere from the House of DeVere. I'm glad to have you. I'm sure my moderators will be joining me shortly. All right. Once again, I talk fast, I do stutter, but I'm not perfect. All right. As far as being physical. All right. But as spiritual beings, we are perfect. All right. And as I always say, those individuals that are able or under the presumption are perfect in the physical, those are wolf in sheep clothing. Right. So if they got that gift of gab, you know what I'm saying, that ability to be able to attract you by way of their looks, by way of how they talk, by way of how they present themselves, then they are wolves in sheep clothing. Me, I come as I am, all right? I come as I am. We come as we are. Why? Because this is how we were brought into this world as Anglo-Saxon Berbers, members of the Third Temple English Church. All right, without further ado, let's get started. I just want to give honor to all those who made it possible to be at the Sabbath meeting, which was May 15th, 2974, which is the Berber year in 2024. I give honor for all those showing their solidarity as well as their fealty to what was ordained and established by me, your king, and carried out by Archbishop Belmont and Bishop Sanctum. So if you all were there, then thank you for very much, and it will be recorded in the Book of Life. All right, so let's get started with this marvelous lesson. I'm gonna go back over some stuff we talked about previously because it gives us our foundation. All right, but it's very important because I was on YouTube today and I was watching a YouTube TikTok, it might have been YouTube or TikTok, but the subject matter in regards to it raised the attention, which normally would have just went over my head or go over our head. But because of the enlightenment, as a result of us being studious to our ancestors' instructions, we're able to pick up these things because we're on a higher frequency. All right. So I'm going to play, before I play this video, I just want to backtrack a little bit of history of what we already discussed. Okay. Of what we already discussed, because it's very important that you look at this lesson through the eyes of, or the lens of those lessons that we previously reviewed. Okay. History of the Jews in it. Everybody know we went through this already. Just got to make sure we continue to go over it and make sure we have it in us. So when it's called, it'll be there at will. History of the Jews in England. We're talking about the Jews. We're talking about the Jews that were expelled from Jerusalem uh, in the time of what we call the 7th century BC, around 733 BC. All right, according to the Hebrew calendar or the Jewish calendar, which are one and the same. Okay, this is a totally different calendar from us as Anglo-Saxon Berbers. All right, because which I'll show you in a second. I brought the calendar just reflected, so it won't be out of mind, out of sight. So we read here the history of the Jews in England. England. The history of the Jews in England goes back to the reign of William the Conqueror. You know, William the Conqueror invaded England in 1066. Although it's likely that there had been some Jewish presence in the Roman period, there is no definite evidence and no reason to suppose that there was any community during the Anglo-Saxon time. The first written record of Jewish settlement in England dates from 1070. The Jewish settlement continued until King Edward I, son of Henry III, son of Henry II, son of Godfrey, the fifth Count of Anjou, son of Fulk, the ruler of Jerusalem. It says that the Jewish settlement continued until King Edward I's Edict of Expulsion in 1290. After the expulsion, there was no overt Jewish community as opposed to individuals practicing Judaism secretly until the rule of Oliver Cromwell. Okay, while Cromwell will never officially readmitted, while Cromwell never officially readmitted Jews to the Commonwealth of England, a small colony of Sephardic Jews living in London was identified in 1656 and allowed to remain. Okay, very important. We understand that. All right. There you got your small narrative there in regards to the history of the Jews in England. They came into England with William the Conqueror. Great Britain's not even existed at this time until you get to the Treaty of Union of 1707. Okay, and the Treaty of Union of 1707 uh, uh, results originated after what we call uh, the, what we call the Commonwealth of England. Okay, you know, the Commonwealth of England was under what we call a rump parliament, under a Commonwealth, which you call now a republic. All right, a republic, also known as the Democratic Republic. Please keep these terms in your mind. All right, let them remain fresh in your mind because they're going to come up again throughout this lesson. Okay, the history of the Jews. We know the Jews going back to their exposure in 733 BC under the Tiglath, the Assyrian or Babylonian king. All right, and then we know that they made their way over to what we call England in the 10th, 11th century with William the Conqueror. You know what I'm saying? This is where they made their entry, and they were both of the same descendants because we know that these Jews, the Jewish diaspora, became peasants or what they call commoners in England under the William the Conqueror. All right, and this remained so until the Edict of Exposure by Edward I. We know that the Edward I exposure from England led to their exposure from what we call Scotland. Okay, Scotland as well as in England. Okay, Scotland as well as in England. All right, and this led to what we call the Scottish Enlightenment and the Scottish diaspora. And the Scottish Enlightenment and the Scottish diaspora resulted in what they call the Ulster Scottish people, which were Irish and Scottish people, all considered what we call one family, and come up under what they call the plantation of Ulster, which was a plantation colonial plan established by King James VI of Scotland and the first King of England. Okay, I know that's a bit much. We're going to go over it. We're going to qualify it. Right, but I had to give you the narrative. Ulster Scottish or Scottish Irish or Scot Irish are an ethnic group in the Ireland who share a community, common history, culture, and ancestry. Some speak Ulster Scottish dialects, some languages of Western Germanic languages as an ethnicity. They descend largely from Scottish and Irish settlers who moved to the North Ireland during the 17th century. So from Jerusalem to England to Scotland, then from Scotland to Ireland. Okay, parts of from Ireland then Scotland. From England to from England and then to Scotland because they were expelled from Scotland in 1275. We also know that Edward I not just didn't expel those from Scotland, but he expelled those from Ireland as well, which resulted in what we call the Ulster Scottish Protestant what we call group. All right, for lack of a better term. All right. So as we can see, Scottish Irish are an ethnic group in Ireland who share a common history, culture, and ancestry. Some speak an Ulster Scottish dialect of the Scottish language, which is a Western German language. As the ethnicity, they descend largely from Scottish and English settlers who moved to North Ireland during the 17th century. We know when they say English, they're only talking about those people living under the English identity. Okay, and we know these people they're talking about are Scottish and Irish or Ashkenazi Jews. All right. Once again, Ashkenazi Jews found mostly in the province of Ulster, and to a lesser extent is it in the rest of Ireland. Their ancestors were Protestants, mainly Presbyterians, Anglicans, and Methodists, settlers who migrated from the Scottish lowlands and northern England during the plantation of Ulster. This is called the Highland Clearance. The largest number came from Dumfries and Galloway, Lancashire, Renfrewshire, Ayrshire, Scottish borders, Northumberland, Cumbria, Durham, Yorkshire, and to much less extent from the Scottish Highlands. Now, you remember back in 959, Northumberland came under the jurisdiction of King Edward the Peaceful as a result of the English Benedictine reform by way of the conversion of the Anglo-Saxon Berbers to Christianity in the 6th century by Pope Gregory I. Okay? We must understand that. Northern Ireland is one of the 4 countries in the United Kingdom. The majority of people living in Northern Ireland are British and Irish citizens. So when you hear them refer to themselves as English, they're actually making reference to British. Okay? They're actually making reference to British. Because they are most associated with what we call British Israelism. The Ulster Scot migrated to Ireland in large numbers, both as a result of the government-sanctioned plantation of Ulster. So the plantation of Ulster was a government-sanctioned movement, all right, which was based upon settlement and colonization, which is nothing more than immigration and migration, which they call a diaspora. Okay, a diaspora. All right. And it says here that the Ulster Scots migrated to Ireland in large numbers, both as a result of the government-sanctioned plantation of Ulster, a planned process of colonization which took place under the auspices of King James VI of Scotland and the soon to be the first king of England, the first king named James of England, on land confiscated from members of the Gaelic nobility of Ireland. This is where they get their chiefs from, who fled Ulster as part of a large migration or unplanned wave of settlement. Okay. This article concerns Gaelic nobility of Ireland from ancient to modern times. It only partly overlaps with chiefs of the names because it excludes Scotland and other discussions. All right. So Gaelic nobility had to deal with the chiefs of Ireland. All right. Ulster Scots people immigrated from Ireland in significant numbers to the American colony, later the United States and elsewhere to the British Empire. Scottish Irish or Scot Irish is a traditional term for Ulster Scots who immigrated to America. You want your source right there. Those are your source. Let's go to the plantation of Ulster again. The plantation of Ulster was an organized colonization plantation of Ulster, a province of Ireland, by people from Great Britain during the reign of King James VII and King in the First of England. All right, King James VI and the First of England. All right, so we know he was not the King of England because England became unified with Great Britain by the Treaty of Union in 1707. All right, and that result of the Union of the Crowns in 1603, which resulted from the Treaty of Perpetual Peace in 1503 with Henry VII and King James IV, a king of Scotland. I don't have time to go back through that. All those who haven't reviewed that, please go back to the prior lesson. All right. Most of the settlers or planters came from the southern Scotland and northern England. Their culture different from that of the native Irish. Some private funded plantations by wealthy landowners began in 1606. While the official plantations began in 1609, most of the land had been confiscated from the native Gaelic chiefs, several of whom have fled Ireland for mainland Europe in 1607, following the 9-year war against English rule. The official plantation comprised an estimated 500,000 acres of arable lands in counties of Armagh, Cabal, Fermanagh, Tyrone, Donegal, Londonderry, land in the counties of Antrim, Down, Monaghan, were probably colonized with the king's support. All right, remember we're talking about British kings, y'all. British kings. All right, so we're dealing with the plantation of Ulster, which is a planned colonization here to North America, sponsored by King James VI of Scotland and the First of England, under the British crown to the unification of the crown in 1603. All right, and they all got their start from the House of Tudors by Elizabeth I, Henry VIII, and Henry VII. Okay, plantation settlement. This is just something we already went through. We're just going back over it real quick. Right? Everybody hold that thought. Plantation of settlement or colony. I don't know if you got the notice, brother DeVere from the House of DeVere in lieu of the Sabbath Day meeting that was yesterday. Uh uh I know you probably had prior things that will be sent out a prior notice to every uh potential member of the Third Temple English Church know that these are mandatory meetings on the for the Sabbath day, and they're scheduled around 6:30 to 7:30, or somewhere around 6:30 or 7:30. You can check with Archbishop and Bishop Searchy for that. But it's very important that we gather together as a family, because if we don't, then we're not considered a family. All right. I know we have things that we have to do, but we have to make time for the family. Um, as well as going forward with all meetings and all notices that will be viewed internally on webcam or by Zoom are mandatory. Okay, they're mandatory. Okay, so if we cannot live up to the mandatory requirement of the Third Timothy English Church of England, then we recognize that we cannot be members. Okay, because in God's house, there's laws that God provides for that house. Okay, don't worry about it. You will definitely get notice next time. If the moderator, Bishop Searcy, makes her way on today, if she's able, definitely leave your information and contact number with her so that way you can be notified about it. You can also just put it down there in the comment section so that way we have it on hand. When she gets on, then she can upload it and pretty much keep you in tune with all requirements as well as all official updates and all potential notices for the coming future. Okay, so thank you, brother. All right, so back to class. Plantation, settlement, or colony, which is, like I said, old news for us. You should be up to speed, right, Brother DeVere from the House of DeVere? You pretty much went through this already, right? Okay. Got to study, bro. Got to study. But somewhat is good. I know it's hard. Okay, plantation settlement. Plantation settlement is just an overview about the settlement plantation, dealing with colonization here in what we call North America, starting from the origin, not taking off where the plantation, the oysters were sponsored by King James VI of Scotland and the first soon to be King of England, but going back to the origin of where the settlement process started from the time of what we call the Middle Age. All right. And that goes back into the time of our ancestors, Edward the First. Right. So it says here, in the history of colonization, a plantation was a form of colonization in which settlers would establish permanent and semi-permanent colonial settlement in new regions. Now, this, of course, is by way of what we talked about yesterday, prescription of sovereignty, because you immigrating or migrating to somewhere where you didn't originate from. And if you go or immigrate somewhere that you didn't come from and somebody's already there, then they're already indigenous people to that land. Okay. And who are you to tell their story about a story where they already was there telling the story? As always say, he who writes your books set your timeline. Time never was when man was not. As the life of time began, the time will come when we will be no more. So if there's a gap between the beginning and the end of that straight line, that's called a chain, a gap in the chain of title. That's a real estate term. a chain of title, all right, from the grantor to the grantee, all right? An indefeasible title is a clear chain of title established from the original grantor to the grantee. If there is a gap in that chain of title, that means that there's some missing information. That means it becomes an abstract title, a property abstract, meaning that when they did the property search of the instrument called a deed that's filed within the county records, the far as they can go is based upon what instrument that was filed in that county record. Prior to that, the proof of ownership was left up to memory. That's why we brought up the practice of what we call what we call what they call archaic ceremonial practice that was common to the Anglo-Saxon Berbers, such as what we call livery of seizure, which was delivery of possession of that estate. Okay, we must understand that. All right, so we're going to go back to where it originally originated from, which originally was the Plantagenet crown. Notice the word plantation, Plantagenet, and plant. Okay, we know plant means to implant, to put something there, right? When you plant something, you plant a seed. You gotta hear what I'm saying? You plant a seed. All right. We're what's that saying? You only peer from the source from which you came. All right. The source from which you came, your roots. All right. I did a couple videos on the movie Roots. All right. I did a couple of videos. I can't talk about that. Go watch the videos if you didn't get time to do so. But I did a story on the roots in regard to those people being brought on the plantation and not realizing that we were already on that plantation. It was just conquered by what we call prescription of sovereignty through what we call settlement or colonies of people who did not originate there. Okay? That's the information that is missing from that chain of title or that gap in the chain of title, which is the reason why liens are put on property. Okay? They're called lis pendens. All right? Buyer beware. Beware of what you buying and who you buying it from. Okay? I love doing this. The first plantation was established during the Edwardian conquest of Wales. We ain't even talking about the Edwardian conquest of Ireland. We're talking about Wales. And the plantation of Ireland. Now we're talking about Ireland, okay? By the English crown. When we say English crown, they actually talking about the corporation sold because the king represents the crown. And before we had an English king, there were Anglo-Saxon kings because we know the first English king didn't come until William the Conqueror, who invaded England, all right? When he invaded England. So therefore, we're not going to go to baby up the bathwater because we have to connect the dots to connect that chain of title. Then it says, Ireland by the English crown. And Wales, King Edward I of England began the population of construction of chain or fortification of castles in northern Wales. We know that castles were built in Jerusalem by Fulk V, all right, ruler of Jerusalem, father of Godfrey V, Gallivant Jew, father of Henry II, father of John, Richard I, Henry III, father of Edward I, who we're talking about right now, okay? All right, so the fortification and castles that were built in northern Wales is like it's not unknown by the Plantagenet kings because they were famous for building castles. And it goes on to say that the fortification and castles in northern Wales was to control the native Welsh population. The Welsh were only permitted to enter fortifications and castles unarmed during a day and were forbidden from trading. In Ireland, during the Tudor sorts of eras, the English crown initiated a large-scale colonization of Ireland, and particularly in the province of Ulster, with Protestants settling from Great Britain. We know the Tudor and Stuart era goes back to King James and Henry VII, because Henry VII was the founder of the House of Tudors under the Lancaster branch, which was a cadet branch of what we call the Plantagenet crown, which was founded by Henry II, predecessors. All right, John. All right. We have to understand that because when you go back into Anglo-Saxon conquest of Ireland, it was under John. All right. John. And it ended with who? Henry VII. And Henry VII was the founder of the Tudor dynasty, which we're talking about now. And the Tudor dynasty gave the start to the House of Stuart. All right. Which was dealing with King James, a Scottish king. Okay. a Scottish king. This plantation led to the demography of Ireland, hence the word demographic, hence the word democratic. Okay, democratic. That's the word. We're going to talk about that. Becoming permanently altered, creating a new Protestant ascendancy which would dominate Irish society for the next few centuries. In North America, during the period of European colonization, we know when you go back to the TNO map, we know that Europe is responsible by Japheth. We know Shem is responsible from Shem. Asia comes from Shem. We know Ham comes from what we call uh, um, uh, what is it? Africa. All right. So Ham represents Africa, Shem represents Asia, and Japheth represents Europe on the TNO map. All right. And we know that Europe comes from Japheth, which is the father of Gomar, which births Ashkenazi, which is where the Ashkenazi Jews come from, which is the ones who immigrated from the Jewish diaspora to England, and then from England on to Scotland, all right, and Ireland. And from then they gained their what they call the Scottish Enlightenment, and then started the Scottish diaspora, which they called the Ulster Scottish, through the plantation of Ulster, which was a colonization plan movement under the guise of uh, um, King James VI of Scotland. Okay, there you have it right there. And we're talking about what? The plantation. Okay, so we said the first plantation actually took place through the reign of Edward I. And we got Edward I, the plantation king, here in New Jersey statute. We got him. We got him quoted as president in New Jersey as well as United States case law. Okay, we can find them in the acts of Parliament that are still active presently in England, and we represent England because that territory over there in Europe don't call themselves England; they are called now United Kingdom, and it's for a reason why they call themselves that, which we'll discuss today. Right? Let's go to the video, y'all. Body listen. I'm gonna play it twice. I'm gonna play it twice for everyone to hear it. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? So this is just a TikTok. So let's go to the actual evidence to validate what this gentleman had just said in regards to Biden's quoting that we can build a new Jerusalem or a new democracy. Okay? He said we can either build a new Jerusalem or a new democracy. All right? A temple of democracy or a temple of Jerusalem. Okay? Very important for you to understand what's being said. Why? Because why is Biden, our president of the United States, making reference to Jerusalem, all right, which is over on another continent, and about rebuilding the temple of Jerusalem on another continent or building a temple of democracy over here? And the temple of democracy is different from a temple of Jerusalem because they separated church from state. No audio? One second. Testing, 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 testing. No audio still? Testing, 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 testing. Okay, the video had no audio? All right, let's play that again. Can you hear me now? Okay, let's try this again. Is it clear? Okay, let's play it again. I'm gonna play it twice. It's not playing again? No sound, no audio from the video. It's not playing again, Brother Devere? Testing, 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 testing. Okay, bear with me, my man. Testing, testing, testing. Yeah, I didn't think so. All right, so if they don't want me to play the video, we're gonna read it. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Testing, testing, testing. Bear with me, Noble. Testing, testing. You can hear me now, though? All right, cool. I'm gonna just read it. I'm probably getting flagged, though. That's all right. We can go right to the source. See, they don't want this out, but you can't stop it. Why? It's the third temple. The third temple. All right, this is what we represent. All right, all right. So we can't get the video, but we doing so got the actual transcript. All right. The White House, December 2021. We incorporated in 2020, December 16th. I mean, August 16th, 2020. This is when the Third Typical English Church of England incorporated. All right. The Third Typical English Church representing the Kingdom of Jerusalem. All right, because I'm Godfrey, King Clifford Jefferson. I'm sitting the Godfrey, the fifth Caliban Jew, son of four, ruler of Jerusalem, the reincarnation of King Edgar the Peaceful, for which the current account, i.e., the exchequer, is responsible for. All right, let's rock, y'all. Remarks by President Biden during the memorial lighting and the celebration of Hanukkah. All right, remember, United States is a separation of church and state initiated by Thomas Jefferson. Okay, a separation of church and state issued by Thomas Jefferson. The argument or the topic here is building of the third temple. Okay, not the first temple, not the second temple, but the third temple. Okay, the third temple, and the only way that can be rebuilt is by restoring the candlestick. Right, that candlestick is the light which the light in the wall that separates lightness from darkness. And those that are in darkness are considered those in the wilderness. And those who are in the wilderness are trying to migrate or emigrate to the Holy Land. Okay? That represents God's children. So who are God's children? Because it's showing those who descended from the biblical story created through the Bible by King James, which are the ones who told the story. And as I always say, he who writes your books set your timeline. Time never was when man was not. If the life of time become when man begins, the time will come when we will be no more. And we know that according to the T and O map, we're not Hamites, we're not Hamathites, we're not Asian, we're not Europeans. Okay, that is not a proper identity or proper nationality for us as a people. Because the only way you can identify people or prove you are a people is by people having their current record, i.e., a current account of their existence. And the only current account that I can recall for an existence of a people is what we call a calendar. Okay? A calendar. Let's move. Live now, President briefing by President Secretary Kathleen Jean-Pierre and Stefan Benjamin on remarks by President Biden during a menorah lighting and a celebration of Hanukkah. Right? East room. In the East room, y'all. I don't think I want to read this. The president applauds. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Please. Thank you, please. Thank you. My name is Joe Biden, and I am Jill's husband, Laughter, as I'm known here in Washington and many other places. Happy Hanukkah, everyone. Audience, happy Hanukkah. The president, you know, first, I want to thank Doug and Kamala. And this is a White House tradition, a White House tradition. But the first time in history, it's a family tradition. Listen what's being said. Doug, we're honored that you're leading the menorah lighting. And I see my dear friends in from Congress and the community out there, many of whom I know for a long time, long time. And I know how many more are joining us virtually. You know, first of all, I want to welcome our cabinet members, Attorney General Merrick Garland. Stand up so that they can see you, Merrick. Applause. He is practicing the Jewish tradition of restoring justice to the Justice Department. Applause. Y'all better listen to what's being said. And Secretary of Homeland Security, Ali Mayorkas, who has maybe one of the toughest jobs in government, one of the widest breadth. And I want to thank you, Ali, for all you do. Thank you. Applause. All right. So we know that name is synonymous with Muslims as well as Israel, Jews. All right. And apparently everybody who's in this particular gathering are Jews. Okay. Government officials who are Jews. And one of the biggest scientists and doctors I know, the head of OSTP, Dr. Eric Lander. Eric, applauses. And I want to welcome Israel's newest ambassador to the United States, Michael Herzog. Michael, applause. Just please stand up. Come on, stand up, Ambassador. I look forward to working with you to reaffirm the long-standing ties between the United States and the state of Israel. Y'all better listen. I was saying to a couple of young members of my staff before I came over about the many times I've been to Israel. I said, let me read that again. I was saying to a couple of younger members of my staff before I came over about the many times I've been to Israel. I said, and then all of a sudden I realized, God, you're getting old, Biden. Laughter. I have known every prime minister well since Golda Meir, including Golda Meir. Applause. And during the 6-Day War, I had an opportunity she invited me to come over because I was going to be the liaison between she and the Egyptians about the Suez and so on and so on and so forth. And I sat in front of her desk, Chuck, and she had a guy, her staff member, to my right. His name was Rabin, Laughter. And she kept flipping those maps up and down. She had that bevy of maps, sort of kept it, and it was so depressive what she was about what happened for herself. Maybe that again. And I don't know whoever writing this transcript, but whatever he's saying in lieu of this transcript is a mess. And I sat in front of her desk, Chuck, and she had a guy, her staff member, to my right. His name was Rabin, Laughter. And she kept flipping those maps up and down. She had that heavy bevy of maps, sort of kept it, and it was so depressing what she was about what happened. She gave me every detail. I don't know if that don't make no sense to me. And all of a sudden, she looked at me and she said, Mr. Ambassador, would you like a photograph? And I thought, okay, we got up, we walked out, and the three of us are standing in that rectangular area outside of the office. And we, the photographer, she was taking pictures in the press. And Chuck, without turning her head, she looked straight ahead, but talking to me, she said, why? She said, why do you look so sad? And I said, I am almost turned. And I said, well, Madame Prime Minister, I said, you painted such a dismal picture. She said, oh, no, 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 no. She said, don't worry. We have a secret weapon in our battle in this area. I am almost turned again. And I said, what? What? She said, we have no place else to go. Ladies and gentlemen, you know, as Doug leads our candle lighting, he'll be joined by Leader Schoomer, a good friend of mine. Chuck, we're so sorry about your dad. Abe was passed away. And Chuck, you said in the eulogy to your dad, if you don't mind my saying this, you said he never quit. He never cut corners. He led by example. He knew we had a responsibility to others beyond ourselves, and he lived with the conviction that doing this right thing, even when it doesn't, when others don't, will lead to success. Doing the right thing, even when others don't, will lead to the success. Chuck, you describe you. You describe you, pal, and you could use the same words to describe you. I don't know that whoever's saying this boy needs some type of literal teaching. And you know, in age blessed memory, I hope you continue to lead us. Thank you, applause. We also have a dear friend of mine for more than 3 decades, someone many of you know as a devout leader, community leader, Susie Stern. Susie, thank you for all you've done. Applause. And I also love Rabbi Dr. Glad's description of Hanukkah. He said, and I quote, a Jewish holiday is Hanukkah. The Jewish holiday of Hanukkah is Thanksgiving on steroids, laughter. Thanksgiving on steroids? Well, that's a pretty good from Rabbi Dr. Glad, theological, and medical opinion merged into one, laughter. So it says theological and medical opinion merged into one, laughter. Look more seriously, Rabbi has described America as a great nation of kindness, and that what we must always be a great nation of kindness. That's not hyperbole, that's a fact. And in fact, this let me go down to the key point because whatever I'm speaking, whatever they're saying, don't make no sense. Okay, right. Now this is the competency of the White House. Is publishing staff, his press staff, those who are being interviewed by the staff. I mean, this is what we left with. Okay, this is the competency of the people that we're left with. All right. Remember, all of this enlightenment they got came from the Scottish Enlightenment that took place in what we call the 18th century. All right. This is how far they got from the 17th century. All right. This is why they couldn't allow us to read and write, so that they knew that when we woke up, we would be more enlightened than they were. All right, because we got that candlestick. They don't have no candlestick. They're in the darkness right now. Okay, they're moving in darkness, trying to find their way to the light, and there's no light to be found. Why? Let's prove it. Manfred and his sister came to the United States and in gratitude opted. It was his adopted homeland. He began collecting thousands of souvenirs of little statues of liberty of the United States Capitol and the Liberty Bell, which is what he used to design this menorah. And this menorah we're going to pay tribute to 2 centuries of two cultures. This menorah is on loan from the National Museum of American Jewish History in Philadelphia, just across from the Liberty Bell itself. And one of the honors of my oh, all right. Right here. This is the focal point, everybody. All right. It says right here, once again, the competency of our leaders, the incompetency of our leaders. It states here, when we light this menorah in the White House, when Jewish families place menorahs in their windows, we are proclaiming liberty. Did you hear that? When we light this menorah in the White House, when Jewish families place menorahs in their windows, we are proclaiming liberty. We're exercising the freedom that the Maccabees sought to simply practice their faith. All right, this is back to the separation of church and state. First Amendment, religious freedom to practice whatever faith that you wanted to. This was instituted by Thomas Jefferson. We call it the Establishment Clause. All right. You call it the First Amendment. Without the Establishment Clause, you would have no First Amendment. Okay. So the First Amendment that the White House is basing their religious liberty is based off this example as given here by the lighting of the menorah, because we did not practice the lighting of menorah based upon the Clarendon Constitution, okay, which was the example of the precedents in which the First Amendment and the freedom of religion was based upon. Okay, you must understand that. So it said, we're exercising the freedoms that the Maccabees sought to simply practice their faith. And we're showing that there is still light, that even the most fragile flame can be sustained in a tradition and nourish the soul of a people. Okay? A fragile flame that can be sustained in a tradition and nourish the soul of a people. So they talking about matchlight. Matchlight. That's going to sustain them in the darkness from which they are in. Okay? That they are in. Let's prove it. That little bit of light, wherever it is found, can dispel the darkness and illuminate a path forward. And whether it is in the temple of Jerusalem or a temple of our democracy, nothing broken or profane is beyond repair. Nothing. I repeat, that little bit of light, wherever it is found, can dispel the darkness and illuminate a path forward. And whether it is in the temple of Jerusalem or in the temple of our democracy, nothing broken or profane is beyond repair. Nothing. Okay? So they're not talking about the first temple, the second temple. They're talking about the third temple of Jerusalem, that in which they refer to as a temple of democracy. Okay? A temple of democracy. All right? We see it right here on the White House Press information letterhead, all right, for the public view. All right. And they clearly said that this little bit of light, wherever it is found, can dispel the darkness and illuminate a path forward. So the light is not there. There. They're talking about when they find that light, wherever it is found. All right. How could you have light where you're looking for light wherever you find it? Okay. So that proves that you're in darkness. And whether it's in the temple of Jerusalem or in the temple of our democracy, nothing broken or profane is beyond repair. Nothing. Okay. So if you're talking about that light that's in the temple of Jerusalem, that's where the light's supposed to be. In the temple of Jerusalem, right? Versus the temple of democracy, where there is no light, because your democracy resulted in a separation of church and state. Okay? From church and state. Let's validate some more. United States Capital History of Historical Society. Right here. Temple of Democracy. Take a step back in time and join the expert staff and historical trained volunteers of the United States Capitol Historical Society for an exclusive walking tour of the Capitol ground. Delve into the fascinating history of this iconic building as you gain unique insight and perspectives about Congress, the origins and construction of the Capitol, and the broader concept of a democratic government. Did you hear that? These aren't your leaders doing that. They got people volunteering to do this. Have nothing to do with government, but they're volunteering to teach you government when they don't have a position of government to even validate whatever they teaching is true and correct. Okay? I mean, wow, this is crazy. Discovering the secrets beyond the nearly 400 points up. Discovering the secrets beyond the nearly 40-year construction of the original Capitol building and gain a deeper understanding of why and how it has been expanded and changed over the years. Hear about famous and infamous incidents that took place within its walls, pivotal turning points in the history of the Republic. You hear that? A democratic republic, all right, that shaped the course of our nation with a focus on the daily activities that take place within the monumental complex. You'll gain a unique perspective on how our government works and how it continues to shape the course of our nation. Okay? This tour is a different, more historical inclined experience that you won't find anywhere else. It's no wonder it has been named Best Special Tours by Washingtonian Magazine. Okay. All right. So you're saying this is the best tour that you can take in regards to understanding the foundation of the government, the government building where our government is housed in, as well as those who sit in that government exercising the authority as established by the Constitution. All right? This is what you're telling me based off the Washingtonian magazine. Okay? And this is attested by volunteers. All right? Why? Because ain't no government going to attest to what it is they're doing because they know what they're doing is fraud. Let's go back to the proof. So again, that little bit of light, wherever it is found, can dispel the darkness and illuminate a path forward. And whether it's in the temple of Jerusalem or our temple of our democracy, nothing broken or profane is beyond repair. Nothing. So that meant that your Capitol building, your government, was the temple of your democracy. All right? It's either or. It's either the temple of Jerusalem or the temple of democracy. You didn't say temple of Jerusalem and the temple of democracy. You didn't say temple of Jerusalem, which is the temple of democracy. No, you said either or. Take your pick, just like you did with the separate of church and state. Take your pick. Okay? Take your pick. You have a choice. We can always build back better or perhaps build back brighter. You hear that? How you gonna build back brighter with a match? All right, it's bound to blow out at the swift of some air. Okay, so thank you all for being here as we proclaim the light and liberty that this is all about. First of all, this was not based upon any light, and it was not based upon any liberty. Let's prove it. So what Thomas Jefferson said. Again, Jefferson reflects other thinkers, including Roger Williams, a Baptist dissenter and founder of the province of Rhode Island. He writes, when they, the church, have opened a gap in the hedge or wall of separation between the garden of the church, all right, and the wilderness of the world, God has ever broke down the wall itself, removed the candlestick, etc. Whatever term you want to use a match, a light switch, whatever. It made his guarding a wilderness as it is in this state. Okay, so it was a wilderness back when Thomas Jefferson said it, and it's still a wilderness when Biden said it. Okay, it's still a witness. Why? Because these are the ones who had to travel through the wilderness as a result of their disobedience. Okay, in Jerusalem and England, Great Britain, Ireland, as well as they're proving they're doing over here today. Okay, the proof is right here. There's the evidence. There's your source. Church, state, council. Okay, so I reiterate to all those who have a choice to make today in regards to being in Jerusalem or a temple of Jerusalem, which is the third temple in the Church of England, reincarnated or reincorporated or resurrected from the first and the second temple of Jerusalem, which was a story told by those who enslaved you. Okay, by those who enslaved you. All right, in regard to some third temple that they're yet to build. All right, when this one is already built. It was built prior to the remarks made by Biden in regard to the temple of Jerusalem or the temple of democracy in regard to the rebuilding. Not the existing, but the rebuilding. So if it's not the existing, that means that whatever existed prior to the rebuilding is not in existence anymore. So that means that it has to be rebuilt. All right. And it was rebuilt through the third temple. As you see it before you. All right. Let's go prove it even further. The United States established the clause of the First Amendment of the United States Constitution, together with the Amendment Free Exercise Clause for the constitutional rights of freedom of religion, established clause and Free Exercise Clause together reads that Congress should make no law respecting and establishing a religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. When they did that, they separated you from your body of politics. All right? This puts you in the wilderness. Why? Because the Establishment Clause that you now is based upon the First Amendment was rooted in something prior to the First Amendment. All right, it was rooted in the Scottish Bill of Rights of 1689. It was also rooted in what we call New Jersey and Pennsylvania's Constitution. Right here. Right here. Colonial New Jersey and Pennsylvania Constitution. The original Mason-Dixon line was the demarcation line between the Catholic colony of Maryland and the New Jersey and Pennsylvania colonies, which followed the 1689 Bill of Rights and their own colonial constitution, which provided similar protection against the establishment of Catholic laws and government. Did you hear that? Why did it say that? Because New Jersey represented the crown, okay? When it was restored by Queen Anne, who was a Scottish monarch, okay? Contrast to the Catholic colonies of Maryland, okay? And we know that Maryland and Virginia is where Washington D is situated, which you call your capital, okay? So we see that the separation of church and state, which was you call the First Amendment, is based upon the presence of the Constitution of Pennsylvania and New Jersey. And we know New Jersey represents the crown. We know Pennsylvania is named after William Penn, and William Penn claimed this territory based on what we call the Twig and Turk ceremony, which is not the ceremony that him as a Ulster Scottish descendant used. That comes from the common law anarchy ceremonial tradition going back to Atherton, the grandson of Alfred the Great. Okay. All right, so we know that the First Amendment, which we call the Establishment Clause, was based upon the Carleton Constitution, not the colonial Constitution of New Jersey and Pennsylvania, nor the 1689 Bill of Rights that was created by the Scottish kings, who were actually Roman Catholics and they broke away from the Roman Catholic by way of what we go back to uh the English Civil, not the English Civil War, when we go back to their connection to Henry VIII, all right, from the House of Tudor, all right, by what we call the reformation of the English Church, okay, if I'm not mistaken, the reformation of the English Church. So we see that the First Amendment, religious freedom, which you call the First Amendment religious freedom clause, is rooted in what we call the Establishment Clause, okay? And we know the Establishment Clause, which is called the First Amendment, is based upon the prejudice of the colonial constitution of New Jersey and Pennsylvania, the Bill of Rights of 1689, as well as the Constitution of Clarendon, okay? The Constitution of Clarendon. And that is the prejudice, all right? That trump all of them, right here. The clause was based on a number of prejudices, including the Constitution of Clarendon, then the Bill of Rights, and then the Pennsylvania of New Jersey, which then was incorporated in the drafting of the Articles of Confederation. Okay? So they know what they're doing is fraudulent. They know it. What is the Clarendon Constitution? Let's see. The Clarendon Constitution, or the Constitution of Clarendon, was a set of legislative procedures passed by Henry II of England in 1164. This condition was composed of 16 articles representing an attempt to restrict ecclesiastical privileges and curb the power of the Roman Catholic Church courts and the extent of papal authority in England. And in the anarchic conditions of Henry II's predecessor, Stefan of Blois, the church had extended its jurisdiction by taking advantage of the weakness of the royal authority. The Constitution was claimed to restore the law as it was observed during the reign of Henry I, son of William the Conqueror, the one who brought those Jews over there to England, as well as allowed them to go over there Scotland, Ireland. Now they're over here, all right? Which is the reason why the Constitution of Clarendon was put in place as a result of the anarchic condition. What is the anarchic condition? Let's do that before we close out. The anarchy was a civil war in England and Normandy between 1138 and 1153, which resulted in a widespread breakdown in law and order. This conflict was a war of succession precipitated by the accidental death of William Allen, the son of Henry I, the son of William the Conqueror, who died in the wifeship, which resulted in the marriage between Empress Matilda, the daughter of Matilda of Scotland, the daughter of Margaret of Scotland, who married Malcolm III from the House of Scotland, or from, like I said, a Scottish king. All right. So we know that Empress Matilda, the granddaughter of Margaret of Scotland, who is actually called Margaret of Wessex. Okay, she's the kin to Edward the Elder, who was a son of, if I'm not mistaken, Ethelred the Unready. Okay, so these are all our predecessors. All right, our predecessors, and which were their lineage, their history, their practices, their customs, their uses were incorporated inside the Third Temple English Church of England, which is the church encompassing Anglo-Saxon burghers. And very important for you to understand that. Why? Let's see. Third Temple. Third Temple. I see that, right? We named our organization this before you start teaching about this. Hold that thought. Any questions, Brother DeVere from the House of DeVere? Any questions? Okay, let's go. So why do we call ourselves the Third Temple English Church of England? All right, why? It says here, the third temple house, or the third house of the Sanctum, right, refers to a hypothetical rebuilt temple of Jerusalem. It would succeed to Solomon's temple and the second temple, the former having been destroyed during the Babylonian siege of Jerusalem in 587. We know we go into the time of when the Assyrians invaded the 22nd, 23rd dynasty of the West Berbers, or Libyan Berbers referred to as Egyptians, which we call them Berbers, okay? We're going to prove that just by using one calendar, all right, which I'll show you in a second, all right? So it says that the third temple, or the third house of the Sanctum, refers to a hypothetical rebuilt temple of Jerusalem. It would succeed the Solomon temple and the second temple, the former having been destroyed during the Babylonian siege in Jerusalem in 587 BCE, and the latter having been destroyed during the Roman siege in Jerusalem in 7 Circa era, which means Christian era. The notion and desire for the third temple is a sacred in Judaism, particularly in the Orthodox Judaism. It will be the most sacred place of worship for the Jews. Did you hear that? So I hear that, for the Jews. So the question becomes, who are the true Jews? All right? The true Jews are the Berbers. All right? The true Jews are the Berbers because the Ashkenazi Jews descended down from Japheth, who birthed Gomar, who birthed Ashkenazi Jews, were the ones who migrated by way of what we call the Jewish diaspora from Jerusalem. So how could they be the true Jews? All right? They're still back then, over there now, arguing about if they're the true Jews. And the Arabs are saying they're not. Why? Because even the Arabs know who the true Jews are. Even the Europeans know who the true Jews are. All right? So that means all the sons of Noah, whether you from Japheth, Ham, or Shem, know who the true Jews are. All right? And those are Anglo-Saxon Berbers, because the Anglo-Saxon Berbers are in the spirit by themselves. It's called the Anglo spirit. It was here before you even came into and said what? Noah repopulated Earth, right? So who was here after before Noah? Those messengers, those angels, okay? We must understand that. Let's see. The notion and the desire for the third temple is sacred in Judaism, particularly in Orthodox Judaism. It will be the most sacred place of worship of Jews. The Hebrew calendar holds that the Jewish prophets called for its construction prior to or in tandem with the Messianic Age. I'm going to repeat it again. The Hebrew Bible holds that the Jewish prophets called for its construction prior to and in tandem with the Messianic Age. The building of the third temple also plays a major role in some interpretation of Christian eschatology. All right? All right, we're going to stay right there with that. It said the Messianic Age. The Hebrew Bible holds that the Jewish prophets called for its construction, its building, its manifestation, its existence prior to or in tandem with the Messianic Age. Okay? Let's see what the Messianic Age is, y'all. According to the classical Jewish sources, the Hebrew year 6000 marks the latest time from the initiation of the Messianic Age. The Talmud, the Midrash, the Zohar state that the day by which the Messiah will appear is 6,000 years from creation. Creation started in 3761 BCE. Okay, remember that. Now going to the Berber count. The Berber count of 3761 is actually 1B, 1 AD. Okay, the Berber calendar in regards to the correlative calendar for the Hebrew calendar for the creation of all existence is 3761 BC. Okay, which the current 2023 year is the year 5784. Okay, so the current 2024 year is in the Hebrew year 5784. So the year 2024 for Hebrews is 5784. For those who follow the Gregorian year, it's 2024. And for those who are Anglo-Saxon Berbers, it's 2974. Okay? And every other nation who got their own calendar. Very important for you to understand that. And according to the Hebrew calendar, God's creation of creation was the year 3761 BCE, which is according to the Hebrew calendar. Okay? Which is according to the Gregorian calendar, will also be 1 BC. Okay? Because the Gregorian calendar was not created till 1582 AD. All right? Once again, we know the year 2024 is the year 5784. For the Gregorians, it's 2024. And for the Berbers, it's 2974. Let's go to the calendar. 1 BC. In the Hebrew calendar, 3760, 3761, that means that God is still creating the world, Adam and Eve, the flood, none of that has occurred yet. Okay? None of that has occurred. But yet, the Julian calendar is 1 BC. All right? But the Berber calendar is 950 AD. If it's 1 BC, then 1 BC, you got 1 AD. All right? Which in the Berber year will be 951 because we're going up. Go to 1 AD. One AD, and the Berber year is 951. And they got AD, Annos Dominios, which means the year of our Lord, right? And in the Hebrew year, world is just being created. The world is just being created, but yet we're walking around. We're here. So if the world ain't being created, then that means what? We must be angels, right? If ain't no earth, right? Ain't no earth. You look behind me, you see a spirit, right? The third typical English church in the background is blue. We know that represents water, ether, air. It's actually the same thing. That depends upon what scientific alternative are you looking at it? Are you looking at it from general theory of relativity or special theory of relativity? You can look at them in both equations. All right. So as we can see, the year 1 AD is actually year 951 for us Berbers. And this is actually the Messiah age. The Messiah age. All right? Because let's go back here. 6,000 years. It says, according to the Hebrew calendar, starting at the time of creation, no, parts up right here. The Talmud, Midrash, and Zohar starts the date by which the Messiah will appear 6,000 years from creation. Okay? 6,000 years from creation. If creation started in 3761 BC and ended at the year 5784, then that will be the year this year. This will be this year because look at the year 2024. And this will mean if the year 2024 is 5784, then this will be the year of the Messiah, right? Which is 2024. It will be the year of the Messiah. Let's just prove it. In 24. Get the Hebrew year. 5784. That means that this is Messiah age. This is the Messiah age. The year 5784, because creation started in what? 3761. And in 3761, who's coming to ring at that time? King Edward the Peaceful. King Edward the Peaceful, I am the reincarnation of. All right. King Edward the Peaceful died in 975. I was born in 1970. That's sort of 5 years. All right. 5 years from 1,000 years. Okay. It's very important to see the science in this. Okay. Because as you can see here, there's no English reading out here. You see a British reading out here, Charles III. The British king started from 1707 to the present. All right, under British king. The English kings came in with William the Conqueror in 1066, and then the Berbers prior to that were ruling in. And you see what year is the Berber? 2974. Right, 2974. All right, we know that in 1 AD, go back here in closing. 1 AD or 1 BC, wherever you look at it, let's go to 1 BC. One BC, Berber County. One BC in the Berber calendar. Once again, it's the creation story for the Hebrews, or the Jews, or the Ashkenazi Jews, or the Scottish Jews, or the Ulster Scottish from the plantation of Ulster, who came over with King James through the planned colonization here when we were already here as Anglo-Saxon Berbers. Okay? Because we're in 1 BC. Do you see an English reading out here? Here? No. No English king here at all. Only Berber county. Only a Berber county. No English county. Okay? So these are indisputable facts. Let me come to my closing. We can see the United States Capitol is based upon a democratic republic. Temple of democracy. You see it right there. A democratic republic, which means the power has now been surrendered to the people. Okay? A democratic republic, right? And that's based upon and proven by the remarks made by President Biden. Because again, that little bit of light, wherever it is found, can dispel the darkness of illuminated path forward, and whether it is in the temple of Jerusalem or in the temple of our democracy. You hear that? Either the temple of Jerusalem or the temple of our democracy, nothing broken or profane is beyond repair. Nothing. Okay, so now we need to ask ourselves, but we know what the temple of Jerusalem is, right? Because the temple of Jerusalem goes back to the third temple of Jerusalem, right? Which is a metaphorical or hypothetical in regards to the age of Messiah, which come in and which will build the third temple English church. Okay, and we know that in order to build the third temple English church, going back to the original church, one must have a perception or understanding about the kingdom of Jerusalem. And we know that the de jure king of Jerusalem, contrasted to the de facto king of Jerusalem, go to the history of Folk the Fifth. Okay, let's go to Folk the Fifth. Look in the box. Folk the Fifth, king of Jerusalem. He was the kingdom of Jerusalem. He replaced Baldwin II, whose predecessor was Baldwin I, whose predecessor was Godfrey of Bouillon, the first king of Jerusalem. Okay, and we know that prior to Godfrey Folk the Fifth ruling Jerusalem, he was kind of a Jew. All right, he was kind of a Jew until he gave it to his son Godfrey the Fifth kind of a Jew. Because prior to him being Caliban Jew, his descendant, Folk the Fourth, was the predecessor, which is right here. All right, right there. All right, we see right here in reference to the Clarendon Constitution and anarchy breakdown as a result of the War of Succession, going back to what we call the Clarendon Constitution, where the First Amendment, which you call it, is based upon the Establishment Clause, which is based upon the president of the Clarendon Constitution. It says Folk was originally an opponent of King Henry I of England and supporter of King Louis VII of France, but in 1118 or 1119, allied with Henry I, son of William the Conqueror, when he arranged for his daughter Matilda of Anjou to marry his son William Adams. Folk went on a pilgrimage to Jerusalem in 1119 or 1120 and became attached to the Knights of Templar. He returned late in 1121, after which he began to subsidize the Templars, maintaining 2 nights in the Holy Land for a year. Much later, he arranged for his daughter Matilda to marry Folk, son of Godfrey V Count of Anjou, when she died 1127 and 1128. Okay, and that takes me right back here to the Clarendon Constitution. So again, the Constitution of Clarendon were a set of legislative procedures passed by Henry II, son of Godfrey V Count of Anjou, son of Folk, ruler of Jerusalem. And this Constitution of Clarendon is the precedent based upon for which the First Amendment and religious freedom clause is built upon. Okay, we must ask ourselves why. Why? Because this is the kingdom of Jerusalem. This here is the kingdom of Jerusalem. This is why New Jersey is called the Garden State, because New Jersey represents the crown. Okay? New Jersey represents the crown. All right? So what is the republic in closing? That they represent. The Republican Party, retroactively called the Democratic Republican Party, a term coined by historians and political scientists, and also referred to as the Jeffersonian Republican Party, among other names, was an American political party founded by Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, in the early 1790s, that championed liberalism, republicanism, individual liberty, equal rights, decentralization, free market, free trade, agrarianism, and sympathy for the French Revolution. All right. So this is where your Democratic Republic was established from, what they call the Temple of Democracy, contrast to what we call the Temple of Jerusalem, because the Temple of Jerusalem was ruled by the Plantagenet and the Council Grand Jew, okay, based upon their descendant from Folk V, the King of Jerusalem, okay. So this is why agnatic succession was left to the descendants of Godfrey V, Council Grand Jew, which represented the Temple of Jerusalem, which was demolished as a result of the Republican Party, which is called the Temple of Democracy, okay, which was validated by Joe Biden, right? It was validated by the Capitol Historical Society, all right? It was validated based off the Democratic Republican Party, which is nothing more than what we call a commonwealth, which we go here. Commonwealth was a political structure during the period of 1649 to 1660, when England and Wales, later along with Ireland and Scotland. So England, Wales, along with Ireland and Scotland, were subject to the Plantagenet crown as a result of the Battle of Bundoora in 1296, when they were expelled from England. We know they were expelled from the House of from Ireland as well as Scotland. All right, we know this. All right, because we know that the plantation colonization from the origin was founded by Edward I. Okay, founded by Edward I. It says it goes on to say that the Republic of Israel was declared through an act declaring England to be a commonwealth, adopted by a rump parliament on 19th of May, 1649. Power in the early Commonwealth was vested primarily in the Parliament and a Council of State. During the period, fighting continued, particularly in Ireland and Scotland, between the parliamentary forces and those opposed to them in the Cromwellian conquest of Ireland and Anglo-Scottish War of 1650. All right, we must understand what's going on. What's a rump parliament? Rump parliament was an English parliament after Colonel Thomas Wyatt commanded soldiers to purge the Long Parliament on the 16th of December in 1648 of those members hostile to the grandees intended to King Charles I for his high chief. Okay? So we know that everything that was done based off the House of Stuart from 1707 on to the present day was new and void. You're right, brother they're illegitimate heirs. All right? Illegitimate. See? So in closing, book law, bookland. As you can see, bookland or book law. Let's see. Bookland was a type of land taken under Anglo-Saxon, referred to land that was vested by a charter. Land held was that a charter was known as folkland. All right. The distinction meaning between these terms is a consequence of Anglo-Saxon land law. All right. The concept bookland arose in the 7th century and referred to land that could be alienated, i.e., disposed of at will. It involved a resembled ownership in a modern sense. Folkland was land held under ancient unwritten folk law or customs by which customs could not be alienated. All right, i.e., removed from kin of the holder except other special circumstances. All right, let's move further in closing. By ancient law and custom, folkland was the oldest only means of holding land in Anglo-Saxon England and referred to land held by a single as a representative of the kingship group. Land could be permanently transferred outside of the kingship group or could be permanently transferred outside of the kingship group or alienated, but only with the agreement of the king and the written mark. Did y'all hear that? Of the king and written mark. Failing that, land could be transferred only within the kingship group, for example, through inheritance. Did you hear that? So if it's only can be done by the king and by written mark, then that means that only we can do it as Anglo-Saxon version. All right? Let's close that on this. This is from 1911 Encyclopedia Britannica. The Arab is a herdsman and nomad. The Berber is the agriculturist and townsman. The Arab has built his social structure on the Quran, which inculcates absolutism, aristocracy, and theocracy. The Berber, despite his nominal Mohammedanism by way of forced conversion, just like no different than what we call Christianity, forced conversion, which was the reason for the reformation of the English churches by way of the English Benedictine Reformation from the Catholic influence that was imposed upon us through the battles of our ancestors at the birth of kin. All right. This is why you had the Domes Law from Alfred the Great that incorporated the laws of Ethelbert of Kent and Neo-Wessex, Ophir Mercia, as well as what we call the Mosaic Code. Okay, the Mosaic Code. So in closing, we understand that the only calendar that existed prior to the Hebrews was the Berber calendar. All right, and we know the Berber calendar was existing before the Hebrews creation story even came to existence. So if that's the case, that means that the Hebrew story concerning the Jews, which are automatically all linked to the Jews through the Jewish diaspora all the way up to the Kingdom of England, when the Jews were introduced to England with William the Conqueror, all the way up to what we call their exposure from not just Hereford, but from what we call other territories by Edward I, as well as exposure from Ireland as well. Okay, Ireland as well as Wales. Okay, so in closing, it says that the Arab has built his social structure on the Quran, which inculcates absolutism, aristocracy, theocracy. The Berber, despite his nominal Mohammedanism, is a Democrat. With his Jimna written mark and his Qanun or unwritten code, the Magna Carta of the individual liberties as opposed to the community of good. Okay, so if you do got the Democratic based upon the government, which should be based upon written mark, and not that of what we call a republic, which is what they call under the Commonwealth of England or Rump Parliament that was established by the House of Stuart, what we call Republican Party. Okay, so there you have it. Our Wintermont government and the uncoded Magna Carta are preserved as we establish. All right, as they established in regards to bookland. All right, bookland. And bookland is called folkland. We know folkland denotes to the king of Jerusalem, which is called folk. Okay? Which is called folk. Richemont. Hold that on that. Written. Written, Wiseman was the King's Council and the Anglo-Saxon government of England from before the 7th century until the 11th century. It comprised important noblemen, including aldermen, thanes, and bishops. Meeting of the Witten were sometimes called the Wittemont. So from the 7th to the 11th century, we know the 11th century is around the 10th, 10 what we call it. Let's just look it up. 1066 AD. Count William the Conqueror. In 66, everybody say the Berber year is 2016. The English fleet now is 1066. But there's an English king ruling, but there's a Berber calendar. All right. So that means that William the Conqueror was not a Berber. William the Conqueror was an English, was a Frankish king posing as an English as a result of the corruption of the word. We know the word English it denotes to those who are not Saxon. Okay. We know that William the Conqueror invaded England. All right. And those Jews came in with William the Conqueror. All right. But as we can see, we have an English renowned year of William the Conqueror. Also, when the Jews came in, that's when this English stuff started. Okay. But we're not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. That's why we call ourselves English Anglo-Saxon Berbers. Okay. So let's go to 1065. You see if we have an English renowned year. No English renowned year applicable. You want to see it, right? You have a Berber year, but no English renowned year applicable. Okay. At all. All right. So our proof is here. Our proof is here. Okay. If we are, or if we do choose to have a democracy, all right, then the democracy is based off a government, all right, that was based upon within the king and parliament, and not a rump parliament without the king, okay, which was established by the monarchs who founded the British colonies and not the English colonies, because we know the English colonies pertaining to the English overseas possessions, which denotes what we call the Anglosphere, which is the circle you see surrounding us. Okay? The spirit of the Anglo-Saxons who are members of the Third Temple English Church of England. With that, come home, family. All right? Stop looking inside the spirit and come on into the spirit. All right? We were never separated from it in the first place. Yeah, they were related. Everett the Confessor and William the Conqueror were related. They were related. To Margaret of Scotland. Let's prove it. Tilda of Anjou. Tilda of Scotland. Tilda of Scotland. You gotta know your descendants. That's random. I'm pulling this out randomly, Brother DeVere. Check it out. Matilda of Scotland. Right? Check it out. Matilda of Scotland, also as Good Queen Maud, or Matilda of blessed memory, was Queen of England and the Duchess of Normandy as the first wife of King Henry I, who was the son of William the Conqueror. All right. She acted as a regent of England on several occasions during Henry's absence. All right. Check it out. Daughter of King Malcolm III of Scotland, which I just said, and the Anglo-Saxon Prince Margaret of Wessex, which is called Margaret of Scotland. Okay, we don't need to know who Malcolm III is of Scotland. Let's look at Margaret of Wessex, his wife, Margaret of Scotland. Saint Margaret of Scotland, also as Margaret of Wessex, was an English princess and Scottish queen. Margaret was sometimes called the Pearl of Scotland, born in the Kingdom of Hungary to expatriate English King Edward the Exile. Okay, who was Edward the Exile? Son of Ethelred the Unready. Son of Edmund Ironside, I'm sorry. Edmund Ironside. Edward the Elder, also called Edward Ethelred, was the son of King Edmund Ironside in Ilgift. He spent most of his life in exile in the Kingdom of Hungary following the defeat of Canute the Great, which was dangerous king or Viking. Okay, so his father was Edmund Ironside. Who Edmund Ironside father? See, Ethelred the Unready. All right, I was close. Edmund Ironside. His father, Ethelred the Unready. Everybody see that? Who is Ethelred the Unready? Connected, y'all. Connected. Ethelred the Unready was the king of England from 978 to 1013. Ethelred was the son of King Edgar the Peaceful, or the King of Peace, which is our Jesus Christ, which I'm the reincarnation of in his present day. Okay? Ethelred, King Edgar the Peaceful, was the son of Edmund the First. All right, let's see. King Edgar the Peaceful, Ethelred the Unready's father. Matter of fact, let's go back to Ethelred the Unready. All right? Ethelred the Unready. Ethelred the Unready's daughter was Golda of England. Let's look her up. Check this out. Detailed, issue, God giftful. Check this out. Watch how I connect the dots. God, Golda of England, or God giftful. English name, God's gift, or gift of God. Was the daughter of Ethelred the Unready and the second wife, Emma of Normandy, the sister of King Edward the Confessor. All right. She was married to Eustace II, Count of Boulogne, from the House of Flanders. All right. So Eustace II from the House of Flanders married Golda of England, the daughter of Ethelred the Unready, our Jesus Christ. All right. And we know Eustace II was the father of who? Godfrey of Bouillon, the founder of the Holy Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Let's prove it. Yes, you're right. Ransom Alfred the Great. Eustace II, right? In the box. His spouse was Golda of England, which was the daughter of Ethelred the Unready, who was the son of King Edgar the Peaceful, who was the great grandson of Alfred the Great. Great grandson. Probably great grandfather. Because Alfred the Great had sons. All right. Edward the Elder. And Edward the Elder had sons. All right. So it's a big family tree. All right. But I'm just proving right here that our Jesus Christ son, Ethelred the Unready's daughter was Golda of England, who married Eustace II from the House of Flanders, okay? Who was the father of Godfrey of Bouillon, who was the ruler of Jerusalem, whose successor was Baldwin the First, whose successor was Baldwin the Second, who then was replaced by Fulk the Fifth, the ruler of Jerusalem, the father of Godfrey the Fifth, kind of Anjou, where my surname descended down from. Okay? Who was Eustace II? Let's go to him. What house? House of Flanders, right? House of Flanders. Who was his son? Godfrey Bouillon. Eustace II, not Eustace III. Eustace II was the father of Godfrey Bouillon. Godfrey Bouillon, the first crusade and the first ruler of the king of Jerusalem. All right? Not the temple of Jerusalem, the kingdom of Jerusalem, not the temple of Jerusalem. The kingdom of Jerusalem and the temple of Jerusalem is two different things. This argument, this lecture, this synopsis, this information is about the third temple of Jerusalem, in which we represent. sin. Okay? Third temple church. All right, so I'm gonna end on that. Stop my screen, and I'll open the floor for questions, brother Dever, if you have any. Any questions, my brother Dever from the House of Dever? At the Wolf, let's see. There's a lot of names to remember. I don't remember offhand. But at the Wolf is one of the songs people who descended before Alpha the Great, if I'm not mistaken. He was from the kingdom of Kent. At the Wolf, let's see. Let's see. At the Wolf, at the Wolf. Was actually was the king of Wessex. Okay, yeah. Who was he married to? Judas of Flanders. Okay, okay, brother. Yes, it was Judas of Flanders. Okay, there you have it. Let's see, Asherton. Who was Asherton's mother? Let's see. We might get some. Oh, it's another Asherton kid, somebody else. All right, but yeah, you was correct. You was correct, Brother DeVere from the House of DeVere. All right, so once again, brother, study hard, man. Study hard is very important because it determines you enter into the spirit, okay? This holy city, okay? That's not made by hand, all right? All right? The light shining in the darkness, but the darkness comprehending not. As you see within the spirit, it's light because this is where the church is. Outside of the church is darkness, is the wilderness, which all will remain if they don't follow the path, right? The path, right? It's very important to understand what's being revealed to you and that you do away with the subliminal and the abstract and refer to the concrete, all right? Because the concrete is a solid foundation which you can surely rest upon. But that, as we always see here at the Third Timothy English Church of England, I meet you in peace as I greeted you in peace. Leave you in peace as I greeted you in peace. Peace. Peace, brother DeVer from the House of DeVer. Anything else you want to ask before we go, brother DeVer? Good, my brother? All right, so with that being said, leave you in peace. Make sure, brother DeVere, you make it to the next Holy Sabbath meeting as well as the informative meetings that you would definitely get notice of. All right. So make sure you leave a message with your information so that I can inform Archbishop and Bishop Searchy that to get in contact with you so that you will make sure you have the information that you need. Keep in contact. All right. Peace.